Zara was stunned when Andrew suddenly said, "Will you marry me?" She had thought it was just a special dinner he'd prepared that evening, which was why he asked her out, but it turned out he had really planned to propose. "Andrew, are you sure about this? We've only been together for 3 months. Maybe you're just rushing," she asked him, hesitantly. He stood up from his kneeling position in front of her and took both of her hands. "Zara, from the moment I met you, I already knew you were the one I wanted to spend my life with. Please say yes. I promise that no matter what happens, I'll never hurt you, and I'll love you forever," he said, trying to convince her. It wasn't that she didn't love him. Zara loved Andrew very much. He was her first boyfriend. But coming from a broken family, and after all she had gone through in life before finishing her studies, she had made a promise to herself that she would only give everything to the man she would marry. She also vowed never to follow in her parents' footsteps of choosing separation over trying to fix the problem. "I love you so much, Zara. Please marry me," he said again, kneeling before her once more. She took a deep breath, then finally held out her hand to him. "Is that a yes?" he asked, his voice still wavering with uncertainty. Though she felt a bit of doubt, she nodded. "I love you too, Andrew. Yes, I agree," she said. Little by little, the sadness in his eyes disappeared and was replaced by a bright smile. She had wanted to turn down his proposal at first because their relationship was still very new, but the truth was, she couldn't imagine herself with anyone else. She knew Andrew truly loved her, and not once had he failed to make her feel special every single day they spent together. She worked in one branch of Moonlight 80, the bar and restaurant he co-owned, as a bartender. She had just graduated with a hospitality management degree, and that was also where she met Andrew. They'd been celebrating her graduation with friends, and they playfully made her sing on the small stage. According to him, it was that very moment she captured his heart. Afterward, he asked for her name and number. Almost every night he would call her. He was easy to talk to and always made her laugh. She guessed that was one of the reasons she fell for him so quickly. When she finally said yes to being his girlfriend, he offered her a job at his bar. She refused at first, but Andrew was persistent, and besides, that meant they would see each other more often. They grew even closer and got to know each other on a deeper level. "Does Tina know about this?" she asked. Even if she tried not to think about it, she was still a woman who could sense things. She could tell Tina, Andrew's best friend of many years, had feelings for him. She never told Andrew because she didn't want conflict among the three of them, and she also considered the possibility she was just insecure since Andrew and Tina were so close. Yes, Tina knows. She's even the one who arranged all of this. "I'm sure my best friend is really happy for me," he answered confidently. She hadn't expected Tina to be involved in the candlelit dinner Andrew had prepared. Maybe she was just overthinking things. After his proposal, Andrew took Zara back to her small apartment. "Good night. See you tomorrow," he said. She frowned a bit. "We'll see each other again tomorrow, but I have a night shift, Andrew." He hugged her and kissed her lips. "It's okay. I just want to surprise you." After their short conversation, he left. When Zara lay down in bed, she stared at the ring Andrew had given her. She still couldn't believe she was going to be Mrs. Andrews. It had only been a month since he began preparing everything they needed for the wedding, as well as taking a long vacation from his company. That was how seriously he valued every moment of his time. She wasn't surprised, since in 10 years, he and Tina had quickly expanded Moonlight 80 across multiple locations. Perhaps that was also why she felt so insecure around Tina. Tina was beautiful, sexy, and successful, and Andrew's family seemed to favor Tina over her. Though they never said it to her face, Zara could sense it whenever she was with them, and Tina happened to be around. Still, She hoped they would come to accept her for Andrew's sake. The next morning, she woke to knocking on her door. She'd fallen asleep at dawn and forgotten to set her phone's alarm. She jumped out of bed and opened the door quickly when she heard Andrew's voice. "Hi, flowers for you." She shyly took the flowers from him. "Come on in. Have you been waiting long?" She stepped aside so he could enter, then shut the door. As soon as she turned back to him, he wrapped her in a tight hug. "I missed you, so I came early," he said. She gently pushed him to break the hug. "Oh, come on. That's too much. We just saw each other last night. It hasn't even been 12 hours. He smiled. "What can I do? I miss you. That's why I want to marry you. That way, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I see is your face." She arched an eyebrow, amused. "What's so special about my face?" He lightly traced her lips with his finger. "That dried drool, and that messy bed hair." He was grinning mischievously. She followed his gaze to the full-length mirror behind him, then covered her face and dashed into the bathroom. "Stay there, I'm taking a shower," she shouted before closing the door. "I can shower with you," he teased. "Cut it out," she yelled back, hearing his hearty laughter from the other side. Nothing had ever happened between them intimately, partly because of how clingy and sweet he was. Zara was careful to avoid being alone with him for too long, worried they might give in to temptation. An hour later, they were in his car, driving toward a huge building. "Andrew, what are we doing here?" she asked. "Just follow me," he said, and she fell silent. He parked on the ground floor, then guided her into the elevator. Zara had no idea what he was planning. She had a confused expression until they stepped out on the 5th floor. He took her hand and led her to a unit's door. Then he looked at her before they went inside. She was astonished by the interior design, simple yet elegant. The wide living room had a wall of glass that gave a clear view of the surrounding cityscape. The condo was fully furnished. She peeked into a closed door, revealing a white queen-sized bed. "Do you like it?" he asked, and Zara nodded. "It's beautiful. Do you live here?" "Number. But starting now, we're going to live here together," Andrew said softly from behind her. She was shocked at his statement and turned to face him. "What?" "Say that again, Andrew," she asked. "I bought this condo 2 weeks ago. Tina and I picked out the furniture and designed it in a style I knew you'd love. So from now on, we're going to live here together," he reiterated. "No, Andrew, I can't agree to what you're saying," she calmly replied, noticing his expression darken a bit. "Why not? There's only a month left until we get married anyway." "Why can't we just move in together now?" he asked. She shook her head. "Andrew, you don't understand," she said, stepping into the living room and sitting on the couch. He followed and sat beside her. "Why not? What are you afraid of?" he pressed. She looked at him. "Andrew, we can't live together before we're married. What will your parents say if they find out we're already living together? It's not that I don't want to be with you. This just isn't the setup I want." "Zara, I don't care what they think. I want to be with you. I want to see you first thing in the morning and hold you at night. Why won't you let me? We're getting married. I'm not running away," he argued. She lowered her gaze. "Andrew, I'm sorry. If you really respect me, then respect this decision of mine too." He exhaled. "So you don't trust me?" "Of course I trust you, Andrew. It's just, I want to give myself to you on our wedding day," she said quietly, feeling her cheeks redden with embarrassment at her own words. A small smile appeared on his lips. "So you don't want to stay here with me because of that? Even if we did move in together, we can still make our first night as newlyweds special, Zara," he said gently. "You mean we won't do anything until the wedding, even if we're together in this condo?" he asked, gazing at her intently. "Number. I mean, Will any man be able to resist hugging, kissing, and showing his love to the woman he's sleeping beside? I'm saying we'd still make that special night memorable, even if it's not literally our first time, Andrew explained. She shook her head. My decision is final. I'm not moving in until after the wedding. I'm sorry, Andrew. Please try to see my side of it. Could you take me home now? She pleaded. He didn't say anything. She felt that his silence meant he was upset. If you don't want to drive me, I'll go home on my own, she added, standing and heading for the door. Just as she was about to turn the doorknob, he grabbed her hand. Let's get something to eat first before I take you home, Zara, he said sternly. They left the condo together, then went to a restaurant. That night, Zara arrived at work with slumped shoulders, feeling their conversation had ended on a bad note. Andrew managed to smile before dropping her off, but she knew he still felt hurt. Welcome to Moonlight 80, Zara greeted a customer walking in. She did a double take, recognizing him at once. James? He smiled at her, taking a seat. Hey, how have you been? I didn't expect to see you again, he said. She'd heard he went to London 6 months before graduation. I'm fine. What brings you here? She asked, forcing a smile. He leaned forward. Maybe I can place an order first? She nodded. Once he told her what he wanted, she busied herself preparing the drink. Even though she didn't look his way, she could feel him watching her. Here's your order, she said, handing him a whiskey sour. He took a sip, then smiled. I decided to go to London to move on from you, James said. She looked up at him, and he gazed back, but she quickly looked away again. You must be joking, she answered with a short laugh. I made a huge mistake giving up on you, he said seriously, still looking at her. James, I'm already engaged, Zara said. I know, Zara, he responded. She frowned. You know? That's why I'm here, to fight for you, the girl I still love most, he replied. His tone was resolute, eyes locked on her. James, I'm getting married in a month. It's better if you continue moving on, she told him. He shook his head. No, Zara, I still have 1 month. 1 month to court you while you're no longer burdened with your studies. 1 month to win you back from that man. She wanted to speak, but he finished his drink in one gulp, dropped some cash on the counter, and said, I have to go. Then he left without a backward glance. She wondered where he'd learned about her engagement. All this time, he still hadn't given up. As Zara was caught up in her thoughts, her phone rang. Hello, Tina, Zara said, answering the call. Zara, do you know the passcode to your condo door? Tina asked. Zara was puzzled. Andrew's really drunk. I brought him here to your condo, but he's too out of it to even walk, Tina explained. Zara could hear Andrew's slurred voice in the background. Her heart started to pound with worry. Andrew was drunk with Tina, and they were both in the condo. Tina's voice came back on the line. Andrew, stop moving around so much. Zara? What's the passcode? She took a deep breath before answering. My birthday, Zara said. Tina thanked her and hung up. Zara's thoughts went into overdrive. Part of her wanted to go to Andrew, part of her said not to. She spent almost 10 minutes in agony, then finally grabbed her small purse and asked her manager's permission to leave. They understood the situation and let her go. She hailed a taxi outside the bar. She didn't know what she might find, but she had to see him. In less than 15 minutes, she arrived at the building. Anxiety grew with each step toward the unit. When she reached the door, her hands shook as she entered the code. She carefully opened it and saw no one in the living room. She moved farther inside and noticed the bedroom door was slightly ajar. Her heart pounded like crazy. She couldn't hear anything, so she peeked in. She saw Tina wiping Andrew's chest. He was lying in bed with just a towel around him, while Tina stood there in a bathrobe, apparently wearing nothing underneath. Zara clapped a hand over her mouth. She started to turn away, but knocked into something that made a noise. "Who's there?" Tina turned to look. "Zara, good thing you're here. You wipe Andrew down. I need to shower. He got vomit all over me," Tina explained, handing Zara a clean face towel. Zara took it silently. Tina went off to the bathroom, leaving her alone with Andrew, who was still unconscious. She pressed the towel gently to his chest. Suddenly, he grabbed her hand. "I love you," he mumbled. Zara's heart constricted. She didn't know if he was talking to her or not, since his eyes were still closed. She just resumed wiping him down. The next morning, she woke to feel him stroking her cheek. "Why are you sleeping out here in the living room?" he asked. She sat up and tried to smooth out her messy hair. "I didn't have a ride home last night, so I just stayed here." They never really talked properly about what had happened. She could sense he was upset about her refusal to move in, but she didn't have the courage to bring it up. He also seemed troubled that she had come and found him so drunk. She noticed he became less frequent in visiting her at the bar, always claiming to be busy, but he still called her often, especially at night. Meanwhile, James showed up every evening, though Zara tried to avoid him and just let him hang around. One night, nearing 4 a.m., she was cleaning empty bottles and found James slumped over a table, obviously drunk. She tried to wake him, but he just groaned, so she hailed a taxi to send him home. "James, wake up. I'll have the taxi take you to your place, okay?" she said, shaking his shoulder. "I don't want to go home. I still want to see you," he muttered. She tried to get him on his feet, but he suddenly pulled her close and kissed her. She was too shocked to react. Before she could push him away, someone grabbed her arm, yanking her from James. The next thing she knew, James was sprawled on the floor, courtesy of Andrew's punch, which had knocked him into another customer's table. "Andrew, stop!" she yelled as he stepped forward to hit James again. "Get this guy out of here!" Andrew barked at the bar security. Then he took a firm hold of Zara's wrist, dragging her outside Moonlight 80. "Andrew, let me explain." "I didn't know he'd do that." She tried to reason with him. He gave her a furious glare and let go of her arm. "So that jerk isn't just some rude customer. He's someone you know. An ex, maybe. Is that why he's been here night after night to see you? Did you think I wouldn't find out?" he shouted, opening his car door and forcing her inside. She took a deep breath, realizing how angry he was. She smelled alcohol on him too. He drove off so fast, she had no idea where they were going. When they arrived at his condo, he slammed the door shut behind them. "Andrew, listen first, please. I didn't have a relationship with James. He's just someone who used to court me. We're getting married, remember? You're the one I love, the one I'm going to marry," she said as calmly as she could. He advanced on her, eyes still blazing with anger. "So this friend kisses you in front of everyone because he's just a friend?" he hissed. "Zara, do you know how I felt seeing another man's lips on yours? It made me insane with jealousy." "Andrew, I'm sorry. Please calm down. I promise you there's nothing between James and me," she pleaded. He grabbed her shoulders. "Prove it. Prove you love me. Prove I'm the only man in your life. Please, I don't want anyone taking you away from me. I love you so much," Andrew said. Before she could say another word, he crushed his lips to hers. She tried to fight him off, but he was too strong. Within moments, he'd stripped her of her clothes. "Andrew, please don't do this," she begged, but he didn't stop. He took what he wanted from her, no matter how she pleaded. When he was finished, Zara got up from the bed, trembling, and picked up the pieces of her clothing. She draped them over a chair, then walked into the bathroom, trying to wash away what had happened. She never expected he would force himself on her to prove she wasn't cheating. She felt violated, disrespected, and hurt. Under the warm shower, she couldn't stop thinking about it. She came from a broken family, yes, but she never wanted anything like this, never wanted to be intimate with him, only because he was jealous. Soon, Andrew joined her in the bathroom. He was still naked and slid his arms around her from behind, letting the water stream over them both. Neither spoke for a while. "I'm sorry, love," he finally whispered. She exhaled. "You got what you wanted." "Are you happy now?" she said coldly. She tried to peel his arms off her, but he just held her tighter. "I know you're angry. I know it was against your will. Please forgive me. I only did it because I'm scared I might lose you. I needed to be sure I was the only one," he explained. She carefully removed his arms. "No, Andrew, you don't trust me. That's why you did it. You forced me into something I didn't want, just so you could feel secure," she said quietly. "I'm sorry," he replied, his voice almost breaking. She stepped out of the shower and dried herself. After putting on her clothes, she was fixing her hair when he emerged with a towel around his waist. "Where are you going?" he asked. She smoothed her shirt. "I'm leaving. You got what you wanted, so I think I should go," she said, with bitterness. He knitted his brows. "Zara, please, stay here. Don't go back to the apartment. Don't even show up at work. Just be here with me." She glared at him. "So you want me to stay cooped up, waiting around for you every day? We're not even married yet, Andrew. Your family already doesn't like me. You still want me to move in here? You got what you wanted tonight, but is that not enough?" she snapped. He let out a long sigh. "Why do you always think I'm just after sex? Do you know how many times I've held myself back because you told me you wanted to wait? But I'm a man, Zara, and not a saint, and I want to marry you because I genuinely love you." "If you really loved me, you'd have waited for our wedding day," she said. "I was afraid after seeing you with that jerk, afraid because I knew he might come for you every night at the bar. Do you know how it felt to see him kiss you?" Andrew's anger and desperation poured out. "But I admit, I shouldn't have forced you." She couldn't look at him. "That's not an excuse to drag me here and force me into it," she answered. He ran a frustrated hand through his hair. Then he said nothing more. Zara stormed out of the condo, and he didn't try to stop her. He tried calling her multiple times, but she didn't pick up. She was hurt and didn't know how to speak to him after what he'd done. She fell asleep in her apartment, tears on her pillow. Andrew felt guilty. He knew what he'd done was wrong. He was so blinded by jealousy and fear that he'd forced her. Zara stopped answering his calls, and it drove him into a spiral. One night, Tina barged into his office in their main building of Moonlight 80. "Andrew, it's so early to start drinking," Tina observed as she walked in. "Are you okay?" He didn't meet her eyes. "I'm fine," he muttered tersely. "Come on, best friend. We've known each other for 10 years. You can't fool me. You'd never drink like this if there wasn't a serious problem," she insisted, taking a seat across from him. He let out a heavy sigh. "I forced Zara to sleep with me." Tina's eyes widened. "You did what?" "So she's mad, obviously?" she asked. Andrew just stared at the glass in his hand. She poured herself a drink. They downed several glasses together until they were both quite drunk. When Andrew woke up, sunlight was streaming across his face. Opening his eyes, the first thing he saw was Tina's face. He jolted upright, realizing they were both naked in his condo. Panic and guilt washed over him as he remembered bits of the previous night. He clutched his forehead, trying to make sense of it all, then grabbed his boxers and pulled on a bathrobe. "Tina, what is this?" he demanded. She sat up, tears threatening to spill over. "I'm sorry, Andrew. I've loved you for a long time. I tried to do everything so you'd notice me. I waited, Andrew. I waited for you to love me back. I can't bear seeing you in someone else's arms." "I don't regret what happened," Tina said shakily. Andrew stared at her. He didn't remember how things had gone so far. It was just too much alcohol. "Tina, I'm sorry. This shouldn't have happened." After that night, he distanced himself from Tina. He'd never meant to betray Zara again. Drinking had clouded his judgment. He poured all his energy into winning back Zara's trust. Slowly, she forgave him, and they went back to how they were, at least on the surface. The day of their wedding finally arrived. They'd chosen a beach resort to hold the ceremony. Everything was set. A simple wedding with just their families and a few close friends, which was how Zara wanted it. Andrew was anxious and excited to see her in her gown. When the music started, he saw her appear. She looked so beautiful, but her face was solemn. He assumed she might just be nervous. She paused briefly when she came face to face with Tina, then resumed walking. Soon, Zara took Andrew's hand, and they stood together before the altar. The officiant began speaking. "We are all gathered here to witness two people who love each other, pledge their lives before God. Marriage, blessed by the Lord, gives us the strength to face every trial that comes. Keep God at the center of your relationship, so you can overcome all challenges that come with being husband and wife." The officiant turned to Andrew. "Andrew, do you take Zara to be your wife, in hardship and in ease, in sorrow and in joy, for as long as you both shall live?" "Yes, Father, I accept her with all my heart," Andrew said, grinning. He gently squeezed Zara's hand and smiled, though she did not smile back. The officiant looked at Zara. "And you, Zara? Do you take Andrew to be your husband, for better or worse, in sorrow and in joy, for as long as you both shall live?" Andrew glanced at Zara. She was silent, staring at the floor. The officiant repeated, "Zara, do you accept Andrew as your husband?" She pulled her hand free of Andrew's grip, tears spilling down her cheeks. Then she lifted her head. "No, Father, I can't," she said. Andrew felt his heart stop. "Zara, what are you saying? This is no time to joke," he pleaded, though her expression told him she wasn't kidding. "I'm sorry, Father. I can't marry a man who's cheated on me. He betrayed me with his best friend," she said, voice shaking, and turned a searing gaze on him. She pulled something from her pocket, her engagement ring, and thrust it toward him. "Here, you can have this back," she added, in a voice choked with heartbreak. Andrew's ring was in Zara's hand. She thrust it back at him. "Here, why don't you and your best friend get married instead? Yes, I'm poor, Andrew, but you can't fool me." She shouted the words at him, leaving him speechless. She dropped the ring and stormed away from the officiant. Andrew ran after her and grabbed her arm. "Let go of me!" Zara struggled. "Zara, I'm sorry. Don't do this to me, please. I love you so much," Andrew pleaded, trying to pull her into an embrace, but she shoved him away. A resounding slap stung his cheek. "I loved you, Andrew. I trusted you. I gave everything for you. I did what you wanted, even when I didn't want to. And what did you do in return?" Zara's voice shook. "Do you think I wouldn't find out about you and Tina? If I hadn't overheard what you were talking about in that cottage earlier, I'd still be blind. So go ahead and be together," she added in fury. "No, it's not like that, Zara." Andrew tried to explain, but she ran off, and the guests held him back from chasing her. He saw her get into a car and speed away. He dropped to his knees in the sand, overwhelmed with pain. He never expected she already knew everything. 3 years passed. Zara had transformed her life completely. In a backstage area before a runway event, her manager Martha approached. "Zara, are you ready for the runway?" Zara flipped her newly blonde curly hair. "How do I look, Martha?" She smiled, then twirled around in one of designer Theodore's creations for American Vogue's upcoming feature. She'd already spent a year in her modeling career. It hadn't been easy. She had gone through multiple auditions, strict body measurements, and stiff competition. She'd had to give up most of the foods she loved back in the States. She had also taken a 6-month intensive modeling course to learn runway walking, brand representation, and photo shoots for commercials. Many of her ad campaigns were sexy magazine covers. She had changed herself from head to toe. No trace of the once naive, impoverished Zara remained. She no longer looked easily pushed around or easily hurt. She had replaced her old simple outfits with signature brands. She had the money to afford them now. She even purchased an expensive condo in the One West Point Residences in Manhattan. Wearing any Theodore collection, let me call on the stage the beautiful models of American Vogue, the MC announced during the city's fashion week. One by one, models of various ethnicities and backgrounds hit the runway. Most were Americans, some were Black Americans, all of them more experienced in runway walking. Zara could only manage 6-inch heels, but that was enough. She still believed there was something special about being a proud American of Filipino descent. She was lost in thought until the moment came for her to step on stage. Maintaining a fierce look, balancing on her 6-inch stilettos, Zara walked confidently. Cameras flashed non-stop. Press photographers snapped photos for magazines and online publications, and journalists were there gathering stories. She made a few poses, offered a small smile, then headed backstage at the end of the show. When she returned backstage, Martha ran up to her with an armful of flowers and boxes of chocolates. Zara frowned. "Martha, why do you keep accepting these? You know I hate stuff like that." "As if I have a choice," Martha teased. "They're not just your fans, Zara. Most of them are rich, good-looking men," she joked, rolling her eyes dramatically. "That's your usual line, but I don't care how rich they are. I have my own money. And what am I supposed to do with all this chocolate?" "Don't worry, I'll take it all. My fridge needs stocking anyway." Martha grinned. She was more than just Zara's manager. She was her friend. They both had faced hardship in the past, so they were especially close. Martha then said, "What about that brand event back in the States? You really don't want to do it?" Zara paused, removing her heavy stage makeup. "Why ask?" "We already talked about this. I don't want to be the ambassador for that liquor brand, even if it's famous, and besides, I already have a packed schedule here with better pay," she answered, resuming her makeup removal. "But Zara, you're free for the next 3 weeks, right? Their anniversary is just a week away. Their event planner's been calling me non-stop." Zara frowned. "Why are they so bent on having me as brand ambassador? There are plenty of gorgeous models in the States." "I have no idea, but come on, please say yes. It'll be like a little vacation for us too, and I miss my kids back home." Martha's eyes dimmed with longing. She was a single mum who left her children with her parents so she could work abroad. Zara sighed. "Fine, don't look so sad, but promise me this is the last time. No more random brand ambassadorships in the States after this." Martha beamed and hugged her. "Thank you." That evening, Zara, James, and Martha boarded a flight back to the States. The journey felt exhausting, and Zara was slightly dizzy when they landed. "Are you okay?" James asked as they walked out of the airport. Martha was behind them, pushing their luggage. "I'm fine. Are you going straight to Carol's resort?" Zara asked. Carol was James's girlfriend, the reason he was on the same flight. James had once helped Zara break into modeling, but they soon realized they were better off just as friends. Then he met Carol and fell in love with her. "Yes, I miss her so much, and I'm planning a surprise proposal." James smiled. Before they made it outside, Zara noticed multiple reporters and cameras waiting. She groaned. "Martha, why are there so many press people?" "I'm sorry, Zara. I didn't know they'd show up." James shrugged. "Why worry? You're not just some random model from New York anymore. You've done endorsements. You've been on magazine covers. Of course they're going to show up." Zara forced a smile, but said nothing. They headed to a hotel to rest. Early the next day, she went for a commercial shoot. She was dressed in a golden-brown two-piece ensemble, with a tiny black miniskirt over it. A staffer handed her a copy of the lines she'd deliver. The look was deliberately seductive. Heavy makeup, provocative styling, to fit the concept of a mini-bar setting. "Okay, Miss Zara, please face forward. The camera will focus on your face, then move down to your lips. Take a small sip of the whiskey, then lick your lower lip slightly while still gazing at the camera, and finally deliver your line," the director instructed. They dimmed the lights to give a nighttime bar ambiance. She did as told. Sitting at a high stool, she crossed her smooth legs and maintained a straight yet sultry posture. "Nice, nice. Keep going, Miss Zara," said the director from behind the monitor. She lifted the whiskey glass to her lips, took a sip, and gave a playful lick of her red-tinted lower lip. "Do you want to taste it? Try it, and you'll love it," she said smoothly. The director called "cut" after a final alluring smile. Everything went smoothly, and they finished quickly. People on set praised her professionalism. By the time Zara returned to her condo, she was exhausted and went straight to sleep. 2 days later, she arrived at the 58th anniversary celebration for Crown Royal as their ambassador. They had planned a big reveal. This was her first major project back home since she'd left, so she felt both nervous and excited. She waited for them to finish playing her brand new commercial on a giant screen. Then the MC announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present the ambassador for Crown Royal, Miss Zara Ramirez." Applause thundered as she stepped onto a runway-style stage. The theme was a runway party, so she had a long walkway to strut down. Wearing a gold two-piece bikini with a long red cape trailing on the floor, plus high-heeled gold stilettos, Zara was the center of attention. She noticed many admiring eyes in the crowd, but out of all those people, her gaze landed on Andrew. He was watching her intently from across the room. He looked even more handsome than before, and Tina was right beside him. They seemed to be together. A stab of pain hit Zara, though she thought 3 years had been enough to forget him. Apparently not. Her heart still trembled at the sight of him. She felt old wounds stir, but she knew it was too late for questions or closure now. After her appearance, Zara slipped away to a private room upstairs to change. A staffer soon knocked and entered. "Miss Zara, are you done dressing? Sir Luan Crawford wants to talk to you downstairs." She remembered that Luan was someone important at Crown Royal. She gave a curt nod. The staffer left. Zara took a deep breath. She straightened her messy bun, checked her low-cut black sleeveless dress with a daring side slit. It revealed half her chest, but she was used to such outfits and felt confident. "Hi, Miss Zara. You're even more stunning in person," Luan greeted when she came down. "Really? Thank you. Glad I caught your attention," Zara replied politely. "Do you mind if I introduce you to some friends?" he asked. She laid her hand on his offered arm, noting how good-looking and well-groomed he was. He introduced her to several high-ranking executives. They showered her with compliments, and she smiled graciously. Eventually, her cheeks began to ache from smiling. Luan's friends teased him. "So how does it feel to finally have the woman you've been dying to meet on your arm, Luan?" Zara's brow furrowed. She hadn't realized Luan had gone to such lengths to bring her on board. He laughed nervously. "Guys, don't rat me out like that." They all chuckled. Soon, Luan got pulled aside by another colleague, freeing Zara to enjoy the party on her own. She'd had 3 glasses of whiskey without noticing. Whenever a server passed, she'd pick one up. She wasn't drunk, but she felt warm inside. "Zara, can we talk?" came a painfully familiar voice from behind her. She turned, startled. "It's Zara, not Zana." Her voice held no emotion. Andrew met her gaze. "I still love you," he said quietly. She certainly hadn't expected to hear that. "What? Really? Well, guess what? I don't feel the same." Zara let out a short, harsh laugh. "It's been 3 years, Andrew. A lot has changed, and I don't regret losing you at all, because I deserve someone better." Her face betrayed no sympathy, though inside her heart pounded. Maybe the whiskey gave her enough numbness to speak so bluntly. "James is that someone, isn't he?" Andrew's eyes looked shattered, but Zara steeled herself. "Apollo? Oh, sorry. Andrew, here you are," Tina said, cutting in. "I've been looking everywhere for you." She turned and smiled superficially at Zara. "How are you, Zara?" Zara forced a smile. "I'm fine. You two look happy together." She glanced meaningfully at Andrew and Tina. Tina spoke up. "Actually, we're doing great, Zara. We're even happier now." Her face said otherwise, but Zara didn't care. "Really? That's wonderful," Zara replied. Then she noticed Luan approaching with 2 glasses of whiskey. He offered one to Zara, but Andrew snatched it and downed it in a single gulp. "Let's talk," Andrew growled, grabbing Zara's hand and dragging her out of the ballroom. "Andrew, what's your problem?" she snapped the moment they were outside. "Let's start over, Zara." "I won't repeat any mistakes. Please forgive me. I've admitted I was wrong, and I've spent 3 years regretting it. Please, just give me a second chance. I promise I'll make everything right." He was almost begging, ready to fall to his knees, but Zara's face hardened. The memory of betrayal still clung to her. Though it didn't hurt as sharply as before, the pain remained. She couldn't forgive him so easily. "We can't go back to the way things were, Andrew. I'm not the same woman I used to be. Look at me. I've changed, and I'm happy with my life as Zara. I realized a lot after I left you. Do you want to know what it was?" She locked eyes with him, feeling tears sting the corners of her eyes until they finally spilled over. "The world is a big place, Andrew, but I let my life revolve around you. It was so hard to forget you, but I survived. And now, I don't love you anymore." Her throat tightened painfully as she spoke, because she knew the truth. She still did love him. This was exactly why she hadn't wanted to come back. She didn't want to be weak again. Zara turned and headed for her car. Emotions swirled, and the alcohol buzzed in her veins. She lost control of the wheel on the drive. The oncoming headlights blinded her. There was a loud crash, and then darkness. Elsewhere, Andrew reeled from Zara's rejection. Tina confronted him, tears in her eyes. "Zara, Zara, Zara! It's always about Zara. Andrew, can't you see me here? Can't you feel anything for me?" she cried, stopping him from chasing after Zara. Andrew gently took Tina by the shoulders. "Tina, I love you like a sister. I can never love you the way I love Zara. You deserve someone better than me. I'm sorry. If you keep causing trouble between Zara and me, I'll walk away from Moonlight Lounge altogether if I have to. I can't lose Zara again." He broke free and followed the route Zara had taken, only to find a traffic jam. He ran ahead, frantic, and spotted Zara's wrecked car, crushed by a collision with a truck. The sight made him stagger as paramedics lifted Zara's unconscious, bloodied body into an ambulance. "Zara!" Andrew shouted, panic in his voice. "Sir, do you know the victim?" asked one medic. "She's my fiancée," Andrew replied, trembling. They let him ride in the ambulance, where he clutched Zara's hand and repeated her name over and over. 3 months passed. Zara's external wounds healed, but she remained in a coma. Andrew never gave up. He stayed at her bedside, determined to prove his love and care, hoping she would awaken. He prayed this time it would be different. Finally, one day, Andrew felt her hand move. He called for the doctors, who rushed in and confirmed she was waking up. He lingered in the background, heart pounding with hope. Once things settled, Zara looked at him with tears in her eyes. Is it true what the doctor said, that you took care of me for 3 months? She asked, her voice shaking. Yes, I never left your side, Andrew answered gently, seated near her. Why? Why are you doing this? Zara asked, tears threatening to fall. Andrew took her hand in his. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I hurt you. I love you so much, Zara. I never stopped loving you, even when you disappeared. I searched everywhere until I nearly lost my mind, but I couldn't find you. Then I found out you'd become a famous model in New York. I flew there once, but Martha blocked me. She told me everything you'd been through to reach your dreams, to change your life. So I respected that and let you be. His voice trembled. But now that you've come back, please come back to me for good. Zara pulled her hand away, turning her face aside so she wouldn't meet his eyes. Please call Martha. I want to talk to her, she said quietly. Andrew left without arguing. When Martha arrived, he gave them space, stepping out to buy food. On his way back, he heard their voices through the slightly open door. Are you really sure about this decision? You're going back to New York? Martha asked. Zara answered, Yes, my mind's made up. I'll return to continue my work. Andrew's heart sank. He set the food down, too shaken to enter, and left for his condo. Once there, he drank himself into a stupor, trying to numb the pain. Even after everything, she was still leaving him behind. A week later, Zara was back in New York, returning to her modeling jobs. She had come to a decision about Andrew. She realized that a woman is one of God's most beautiful creations, precious like a jewel, tough like a diamond. Many women suffer, but choose to stay strong, not just for loved ones, but for their own dignity. They often don't realize their own value until the right person comes along to show them. Give me a fierce look, Zara. That's perfect, the photographer called. She was in the middle of a clothing brand shoot. Exhaustion weighed on her, but the moment the session wrapped, she felt relieved. She refused to stay idle in her condo. Working herself to the bone was the only way to distract herself from thoughts of Andrew. Martha noticed her fatigue. Zara, that's enough. Go home and rest, she said, concern in her eyes. Zara returned to her condo around 9 p.m., shoulders slumped, but as soon as she opened the door, she froze. Andrew was there. What are you doing here? She asked, stunned. He pulled her close by the waist and kissed her hard. She had missed him so much that she didn't resist. She knew the only reason he could possibly be there was to prove how far he would go for her, how much he loved her. I heard everything you and Martha said, Andrew whispered when he finally broke the kiss. They were both breathless. I gave you a week to come back here, even though it nearly drove me insane to wait. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on us. Zara's tears fell. Thank you for not giving up on me, Andrew, she whispered, letting him hug her tight. I'll never give up on you, he murmured. I made mistakes. I'm human. I've regretted them every single day since you left. Please forgive me. He pressed his forehead to hers, and she felt his warmth. Love for him had once crushed her, but she had rebuilt herself from the ground up. Now that same love filled her again. She knew he'd hurt her before, but she believed he truly meant to change. Everyone makes mistakes. If they deserve forgiveness, why not? She still loved him, and she knew this time no one would come between them. Andrew knelt before her, pulled out a ring and said, Zara Ramirez, please, marry me again. Without hesitation, she held out her hand. Yes, yes, Andrew, I'll marry you. Tears poured down her cheeks, but they were tears of joy. He slipped the new ring onto her finger, stood up, and held her so tightly that it led to a night of burning passion, a long overdue reunion. She surrendered herself to him completely, trusting that he would never hurt her again. She also wished Tina would find a man who would love her in return. Zara and Andrew returned home soon after to plan their new life. She resigned from modeling, withdrawing her savings and proceeds from selling her condo in Manhattan. Martha agreed to move back to her children full-time. Right after their wedding, Zara and Andrew went to a beach resort he had just purchased. They planned to stay there for a whole month of honeymoon. Sitting on the sand at sunset, Zara asked, "Andrew, how many kids do you want?" She gazed at him. He turned to look at her. "How many do you want?" "3," she said with a grin. "Only 3?" He seemed unsatisfied. She giggled. "Not 3, 30." He burst out laughing. "Then let's start making our first baby right here." He leaned closer until he had her lying on the sand, making her gasp. "Here? Seriously?" she exclaimed, which made him laugh even more. "Yes, my love. Our first baby, made in the sand." His voice held a playful promise. She tried to wriggle free and ran, but the shifting sand slowed her down, letting him catch her. "Ah!" she squealed. "You really think you can escape me?" He pinned her in his arms, gaze smoldering until he lowered his lips to hers. Loving someone can be terrifying, knowing there's a risk of getting hurt, but people accept pain, hoping it's worthwhile. Every relationship has trials, moments that test how strong you are. Some give up and move on. Others stay, not because they fear being alone, but because they believe in second chances. How can anyone promise forever if they're not ready to accept that no relationship is perfect, that all who fall in love will face pain and grow from it? Zara had fallen in love with Andrew in a short time, already wanting him to be her first and last. Despite all she had suffered because of him, she chose to give him another chance. Why? Because people learn from mistakes when someone believes in them. This time, Zara chose to trust her heart by choosing Andrew again. What valuable lessons did everyone learn from this story? Feel free to leave a comment below. Rest assured, your thoughts will be read and cherished. Thank you so much.